Buckle up, this is about to get deep, raw, and just a little bit hilarious. Here's an unsettling fact: most people fear what they cannot control or comprehend. As a chosen one, you are a mystery wrapped in resilience, with a side of being unbothered. You don't just scare them, you force them to confront truths they'd rather bury deep inside. These truths are uncomfortable, revealing their own insecurities, their fears, and the shadows of doubt they hide from the world. The mere existence of your presence brings them face to face with the reality they try to avoid. It's not that you set out to challenge them, it's your energy, your aura, that inadvertently pushes them into the corner where they must reckon with their own vulnerabilities. Power, real power, is never loud. It's never the flashy display or the boisterous declaration. It's the quiet strength, the silent storm that terrifies the unprepared. Power is the calm before the storm, and when you enter a room, you don't have to say a word to command attention. Your silence speaks louder than the loudest shout. Imagine walking into a room saying nothing, yet everyone feels uneasy. Why? Because your very presence challenges everything they thought they knew about strength, purpose, and identity. They've been taught to equate power with noise, with chaos, with the dominant roar of a lion. But you don't need to roar. You don't need to show your claws. Your presence alone is a force of nature, as subtle and unstoppable as an earthquake shaking the very ground beneath their feet. And here's the kicker: they want to scare you. They want to shake you, unsettle you, make you doubt your path. But let's be honest, they're fumbling harder than someone trying to scare a cat with a cucumber. They have no idea how to get under your skin. Their attempts at intimidation are as ineffective as a toddler swinging a plastic sword. Why? Because deep down, they know the truth: you're not afraid of them. You never were. They are the ones who are terrified of you. They see your confidence, your composure, your complete lack of fear, and it sends a chill down their spine. They know that you're not the one they should be worried about. It's they who are running scared, terrified that one day their own insecurities will be laid bare by someone who can see through their facade. You've learned to exist in a space where noise and chaos don't faze you. You've embraced the fact that your strength lies not in how loud you can get, but in how deeply you can remain unshaken. The world around you may try to shake you up, but you know better. You understand that true power doesn't need validation from others. It doesn't need to be seen to be felt. You simply are. You simply exist, and that's enough to make anyone in your presence question everything they've ever believed about themselves. So, while they fumble in their futile attempts to bring you down or make you doubt your worth, remember this: it's not you who's afraid. You are the storm. They are the ones waiting for the storm to pass. But it never will. Not for you, who don't conform, and that's unsettling. Society thrives on conformity, on everyone agreeing to follow unspoken rules, traditions, and expectations about how things should be. The truth is, people are often more comfortable when everyone stays within the same boundaries, when all actions are predictable, and when their sense of control remains unquestioned. But people like you disrupt this harmony. You make your own choices, forge your own path, and do so without seeking approval or permission. This challenges the very foundation of the world they've built. Their power relies on the belief that everyone will follow the same set of rules and behave in ways that keep the status quo intact. When you step out of line, it forces them to confront a deeply unsettling truth: their control isn't as solid as they once thought. And not only that, it's fragile. You don't need to break the rules for the system to feel threatened. Simply living authentically, without fear or compromise, does enough to cause a ripple. Your very existence becomes a reminder that freedom, authenticity, and self-expression are forces that can't be contained or controlled. When you're a chosen one, your mere existence challenges the systems of control that others have worked tirelessly to build. These people have spent years, maybe even their entire lives, crafting a world where they feel safe, powerful, and in charge. They've invested their energy in constructing an image of themselves as the masters of their destiny, the ones who control the narrative. But then you show up. You don't simply follow the prescribed path, you rewrite it, tear it apart, and walk away as if their rules don't matter. It's like watching someone's house, something they've spent years meticulously building, get knocked down by a force that doesn't even need a hammer. That's you. You are that force. You have the power to disrupt their carefully constructed world just by being yourself. And that, to them, is terrifying. They've spent so much time and effort making the world feel manageable and under control, but you expose how fragile their reality is. The more you step away from the mold they've created, the more they see that their authority, their influence, and their control are all just illusions. And that's what they fear the most. They can't stop you. They can try to intimidate you, isolate you, or even manipulate you into conforming, but it won't work. The truth is, they're already losing the battle because the very thing they fear, the collapse of their illusions, is happening simply because you exist. They don't need to see you fail. Just watching you succeed without adhering to their rules makes their entire system feel irrelevant. Your ability to live authentically, without bending to their will, is what shakes their entire worldview. The more you thrive, the more they have to reckon with the fact that they've been chasing something they don't truly understand: control. And they can't control you. You represent something much stronger, something rooted in freedom, authenticity, and a deeper, more universal truth. They can try to scare you, to isolate you, or to discredit you, but the truth is, they are powerless in the face of your authenticity. You represent a truth that is so powerful it causes the very ground beneath them to shake. They've spent their lives building a world where they are in charge, a world where their authority is unquestioned. But you show them that their power doesn't come from control, it comes from aligning with something much greater. When you break free from their restrictions, when you live unapologetically and stay true to yourself, the illusions they've constructed begin to unravel. They begin to realize that their control was never as secure as they thought. What's worse, they can't stop you, and that's what frightens them the most. Every time you act in defiance of their rules, every time you break free and show up authentically, you reveal just how powerless their grip on the world really is. You don't need to engage in their power struggles. Your very existence exposes their weaknesses. In the end, it's not just you that they fear. It's what you force them to confront about themselves. By living as your true self, you hold up a mirror to them, a mirror that reflects the fragility of their power and the futility of their control. They fear you because you make them see the cracks in their carefully constructed reality. The truth is, they've been chasing the wrong thing all along. They thought control was the answer, but it's freedom, authenticity, and the courage to be true to oneself that holds the real power. And that's something they can't fight, no matter how hard they try. Number 2. You defy every rule they've built their lives around. You don't follow their rules, and that drives them crazy. They've built their lives around a set of guidelines. They believe everyone should follow rules about success, relationships, behavior, and even how you're supposed to think. But you've never played along, and that makes you dangerous to them. It feels like you're flipping the script on everything they've worked so hard to uphold. What scares them the most is that you don't need their approval. You don't conform, yet you thrive. That's a contradiction they can't handle. They've always believed that following the rules is the only way to gain acceptance, status, or power, but here you are, succeeding on your terms, proving their rigid system isn't the only path. It's like a crack in the foundation of everything they've built, and they can't stop staring at it. It's not just your actions that unsettle them, it's what you symbolize. You're living proof that freedom and authenticity are stronger than conformity and control. You expose the limits of their thinking without even trying. They see you taking risks they'd never dare to take, walking away from things they're too afraid to let go of, and thriving in ways they don't understand. Understand this, it doesn't just threaten their worldview, it threatens their identity. They've invested everything into believing their way is the only way, and you prove them wrong simply by existing. That's why they react with fear or hostility. They don't want to admit that their rules aren't as solid as they thought. They can try to scare you, ridicule you, or force you into their box, but it won't work. You've already broken free, and that freedom is something they'll never understand, because they're too afraid to claim it for themselves. Number 3, your energy feels like judgment without a word. There's something about you that speaks louder than words ever could. You don't have to call people out, point fingers, or engage in petty arguments. Your very presence does all the talking, and for those who live in denial or thrive on deception, it's like standing under a spotlight they can't escape. Your energy isn't loud, but it's powerful, and it forces people to confront things they'd rather keep hidden. The unsettling part is that you don't even have to try. You could be standing silently in the corner, minding your own business, and yet the room feels heavier for them. It's not because you're doing anything to intimidate them, but because your authenticity contrasts so starkly with the masks they wear. You bring clarity, and clarity can be terrifying for those who've built their lives around illusions. What they feel when they're around you is something they can't explain, an uneasiness, a tension, almost as if you see right through them. And the truth is, you probably do. You see beyond their surface-level charm, their bravado, and their carefully curated persona. That level of perception isn't just rare, it's unnerving. People aren't used to being seen for who they really are, especially when they're trying so hard to hide it. And here's the irony: they want you to feel small, but it's their insecurities screaming for cover. They try to deflect by projecting their fears onto you, hoping you'll feel as exposed as they do. But you don't flinch, and that only makes it worse. Your silence, your calm, your refusal to engage in their games, it's the loudest truth they've ever faced. They want to scare you, but the reality is they're scared of what you make them see about themselves. Number 4. You are their mirror, and they hate what they see. When you walk into their lives, you become a mirror they didn't ask for and one they can't escape. Without saying a word, you reflect back all the things they've spent years trying to bury: their insecurities, the lies they tell themselves, and the untapped potential they're too scared to embrace. They hate it. You force them to see themselves clearly, and that clarity is unbearable for people who thrive in denial. It's not just your confidence or independence, it's your authenticity. You live in a way that aligns with your truth, and that truth casts a harsh light on their falsehoods. Every time you stand firm in who you are, it reminds them of the ways they've compromised themselves. Every time you make a decision based on freedom instead of fear, it highlights the chains they willingly wear. It's easier for them to attack you than to face the fact that they've been running from themselves. They lash out not because of who you are, but because of what you make them feel. Your presence unsettles them, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're doing everything right. You're unapologetically real in a world where they've chosen masks. That kind of honesty is threatening because it exposes how far they've strayed from their own, so they try to make you disappear. They gossip, criticize, or attempt to intimidate you, all in an effort to shatter the reflection you hold up to them. But their attempts are futile. The harder they try to suppress the truth, the more obvious it becomes. Deep down, they know the problem isn't you, it's the person they see when they look at you. And that's a battle they can't win unless they face themselves. Number 5, they fear the power they can't manipulate. People who rely on manipulation as a way of life thrive on control. They've mastered the art of using fear, guilt, and subtle coercion to bend others to their will. It's not just what they do, it's who they are. Their sense of power depends entirely on their ability to make others dance to their tune. But then there's you, the one who doesn't flinch, who doesn't play along, who refuses to be controlled. That terrifies them. They've spent years perfecting their games, fine-tuning their strategies, and perfecting the way they prey on insecurities. But when they meet you, it all falls apart. Their tactics, so effective on everyone else, hit a wall when they try them on you. You don't react the way they expect. You don't fold under pressure, and you don't take the bait. Your ability to stay calm, centered, and resolute makes them feel powerless, and they don't know how to handle it. What scares them even more is that they can't figure out why you're different. To them, control is like a universal language, and you're speaking a dialect they can't understand. You don't respond to guilt trips, you don't fear their disapproval, and you certainly don't let their intimidation tactics affect your sense of self. You're immune, and that immunity is a kind of power they can't manipulate or take away. This frightens them, because it forces them to confront a truth they don't want to admit. Their power isn't real. It only works on those who allow it to. With you, they see the limits of their influence, and it shakes them to their core. You represent something they'll never have: true self-sovereignty, and that's the one thing they can never manipulate or control. Number 6. Brah. You carry a presence they can't define. There's something about you that makes people pause. It's not just confidence or charisma, it's something deeper, something intangible. Your presence carries a weight, a sense of knowing that feels ancient, almost otherworldly. It's not the kind of energy people can easily define, and that's precisely why it unsettles them. Humans tend to fear what they can't categorize, and you don't fit into any box they've created. Your energy isn't loud, but it's undeniable. You walk into a room, and without saying a word, the atmosphere shifts. It's as if people can feel the depth of your experiences, the strength of your convictions, and the unshakable calm that comes from truly knowing yourself. They can't place where it comes from, and that mystery unnerves them. Most people rely on patterns and labels to understand others. It's how they make sense of the world. But with you, those patterns don't apply. This inability to define you creates discomfort. They try to dismiss you, diminish you, or explain you away, but none of their usual tactics work. You don't react how they expect, and you don't conform to their assumptions. Instead, you remain an enigma, and that frustrates them. It forces them to confront the limits of their own understanding, and for many that's terrifying. What's more, your presence exposes their own lack of depth. While they're busy trying to control their image or fit in, you're fully rooted in your authenticity. You're not trying to impress anyone or prove anything, and that kind of unshakable self-assurance is rare. It reminds them of everything they've buried or neglected within themselves. Your mystery isn't just intimidating, it's a mirror, showing them what they could be if they were brave enough to step outside the boundaries of their own fear. Number 7. You walk away, and that's terrifying. When conflict arises, most people cling tighter, desperate for validation or resolution. They argue, explain, or try to fix things, hoping to mend what's broken. But not you. You don't engage in emotional tug-of-wars, and you certainly don't beg for anyone to stay. When the energy shifts and the situation no longer aligns with you, you simply leave. No theatrics, no long explanations, just a clean break, and that terrifies them. Your ability to walk away is a power they don't understand. It's not coldness or indifference, it's self-respect. You know your worth and you're unwilling to compromise it for anyone who tries to manipulate or diminish you. This terrifies people who are used to being chased or needed. They've built their sense of importance on the idea that others will fight to keep them in their lives. But when you leave without hesitation, it shatters that illusion. What unsettles them even more is the realization that they were never as essential as they thought. They believed their presence in your life gave them leverage, that their approval or attention held some power over you. But when you walk away, you strip them of that power. It's a stark reminder that their control was always an illusion, dependent on your willingness to play along. Your departure isn't just an act, it's a statement. It says, I'm not afraid to lose you because I'll never lose myself. That's a level of independence and strength they can't comprehend. It leaves them feeling exposed and powerless because they can't manipulate someone who refuses to stay bound by their games. For people who rely on control, your ability to walk away isn't just unsettling, it's terrifying. It forces them to confront their own irrelevance in your world. Number 8. Their schemes always backfire when they plot against you, doing so with confidence, believing their schemes will play out exactly as planned. But every time, without fail, their efforts unravel in ways they never saw coming. The trap they set for you snaps shut on them instead. The lies they spread end up exposing their own flaws. The harm they intend for you circles back like a boomerang, leaving them confused, frustrated, and above all scared. What terrifies them isn't just the failure of their schemes, it's the why. They can't understand how or why their plans always backfire. To them, it seems like you're surrounded by some kind of invisible shield of force that not only protects you but turns their intentions into lessons for themselves. This sense of unexplainable protection makes you untouchable in their eyes. No matter how carefully they plot, something always interferes, leaving them powerless and exposed. The truth is, it's not luck or coincidence, it's the energy you carry, the strength of your integrity, the clarity of your intentions, and your unwavering alignment with your purpose. While they operate from a place of fear, envy, and malice, you move with authenticity and a clear conscience. That difference creates a natural barrier they can't penetrate. They try to manipulate and control, but their negative energy can't thrive in your space. Over time, they begin to fear you more than they'd ever admit, not because of what you do, but because of what you don't do. You don't fight dirty. You don't retaliate. And yet they still lose. It's a reminder that their power is fragile, and when wielded against someone like you, it collapses under the weight of its own negativity. Their fear isn't just about you, it's about the undeniable truth that their darkness will never triumph over your light. Number 9, you thrive in isolation. For most people, isolation feels like a punishment. It stirs up their insecurities, their fears of being forgotten, or their need for external validation. But for you, isolation is not a threat, it's a sanctuary. While others see loneliness as a void, you see it as an opportunity to recharge, refocus, and strengthen yourself in ways they can't imagine. That's why their attempts to isolate you backfire so spectacularly. When they try to cut you off, thinking it will weaken you, they fail to realize they're handing you exactly what you thrive on: space. In solitude, you shed the noise of the world, the superficial dramas, and the endless expectations of others. You enter a state of clarity where you can realign with your purpose, explore your creativity, and refine your focus. This process doesn't break you, it transforms you. What unnerves them most is how you emerge from isolation stronger than ever. They expect you to crumble, to come back desperate for their approval or companionship. Instead, you return sharper, more self-assured, and with an even deeper sense of your power. While they depend on external connections to feel validated, you've discovered the secret of finding strength within yourself. This terrifies them because it flips the script. The very thing they thought would destroy you only makes you more unshakable. It forces them to confront their own dependency on others for validation and how little power they truly have over someone who doesn't fear solitude. In the end, your ability to thrive in isolation exposes their weakness. It shows them that their attempts to control or diminish you will never work because your power comes from a place they can't touch: your own unwavering sense of self. Number 10. Your confidence feels superhuman. There's a quiet strength you carry that isn't tied to external achievements, status, or the approval of others. It's the kind of confidence that radiates from a deep sense of spiritual alignment, not from ego or pride. It's the kind of confidence that doesn't need to prove anything, because it simply is. You don't need to shout about your worth or defend your place in the world. You just stand firm in who you are, and that unshakable calm becomes a force in itself to those around you. This confidence feels almost superhuman. In moments of chaos or attack, while others might crack under pressure or react impulsively, you remain composed. It's not that you don't feel anything, it's that you've tapped into something deeper. You've learned to stay centered, drawing from a well of inner strength that few even know exists. And that's what confounds them. They can't figure out where your strength comes from because it's not rooted in the same places as theirs. It's not about manipulation or control, not about boasting or needing constant validation. It's something far more powerful and mysterious, a peace that comes from knowing your purpose and walking in alignment with it. People can't touch that kind of confidence because they can't replicate it. They can try to shake you, provoke you, or knock you off balance, but your composure remains intact. This unnerves them because they can't understand how someone can be so unbothered by the things that usually send others into a spiral. Your confidence challenges their perception of what's possible, and the fact that you don't need to flaunt it to make your presence known makes it all the more intimidating. Number 11, you see through them instantly. Manipulators rely on deception like a second skin, weaving lies, half-truths, and false personas to get what they want. They've mastered the art of creating an illusion, one that fools most people but not you. From the moment you interact with them, you can see through their masks as if they're made of glass. Their game doesn't work on you because you know exactly what they're doing. You don't need to analyze, second-guess, or take guesses about their motives. You simply know. This ability to read people is more than just an intuitive gift. It's a combination of heightened awareness, self-awareness, and a deep understanding of human nature. You've spent years observing, learning, and sharpening your instincts. So, when a manipulator tries to twist their words or hide their true intentions, you spot it instantly. And that's terrifying for them. They thrive in secrecy, using manipulation and hidden agendas to control the narrative and bend others to their will. But you're a disruption to their entire operation. They've built their lives on misdirection, and you expose them without lifting a finger. It's unsettling, even painful, for them to be seen so clearly. For someone whose power hinges on their ability to remain hidden, the act of being seen in all their falsehoods strips away their armor. What's even worse is that you don't have to confront them about it. You don't need to call them out or argue. You simply exist in a way that renders their deceit irrelevant, and that's a nightmare for manipulators. The fact that their control doesn't work on you is a reminder of their own fragility. They can't pull their usual tricks because you're not fooled by their facade. You don't just see through them, you see beyond them to the truth they've spent a lifetime trying to hide. Number 12. In a world dominated by fear, manipulation, and insecurity, you stand as an undeniable force of authenticity. You're not trying to fit in or conform to society's narrow expectations. You move through life unapologetically, in alignment with your truest self, and that's what makes you so powerful. Your very presence challenges everything people are taught to believe about success, safety, and happiness. It forces them to confront the parts of themselves they would rather ignore: their insecurities, their fears, and their unrealized potential. While they play it safe, staying within the comfort of their predictable routines, you boldly step into the unknown, embracing the discomfort that comes with growth. And that's terrifying to them. It's not just the risks you take that unsettle them, but the fact that you are unafraid to embrace what they fear most: change, growth, and the unknown. You move through life with a quiet strength and unwavering confidence that others can't help but notice. Most people hold back, paralyzed by the fear of failure, afraid of stepping out of line or taking the wrong step. But you don't hesitate. There's no second-guessing or self-doubt in your decision-making. You trust yourself completely and have faith in your purpose. You understand that growth and success don't come from avoiding risks or staying within the limits of your comfort zone. They come from embracing the discomfort, the uncertainty, and the challenges that life throws your way. Your willingness to move fearlessly through life is what sets you apart. You take bold actions, and because of this you often succeed in ways others wouldn't even dare to try. This kind of fearless movement disrupts the illusion of safety that others have carefully constructed for themselves. It forces them to ask themselves, why are they so afraid to take risks? Why are they so trapped in the need for approval and validation? While they seek comfort in the approval of others, in staying in control, you seek growth and expansion. You've learned that life's greatest rewards come from stepping into the unknown, trusting that the universe has your back, and believing that your journey is divinely guided. You are not bound by the same limitations that hold them back. You've transcended the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, and the fear of the unknown. You are free, and that freedom terrifies them. The truth is, your boldness forces them to confront their own fears and limitations. Your courage, your willingness to take risks, and your ability to move through life with such confidence make them question their own fear-driven lives. They look at you and wonder why they are so afraid of the very things you embrace. They are afraid of stepping out of their comfort zones, of challenging the beliefs they've held for years. They're afraid of facing their own weaknesses and vulnerabilities, afraid of confronting the parts of themselves they've ignored or buried. But you're not afraid of any of that. You've learned that true strength comes from facing your fears head-on, from stepping beyond the illusions of safety, and from trusting that you are capable of navigating whatever challenges come your way. And this, in itself, is the most terrifying thing of all to those who live in fear. They want to remain comfortable, shielded from the discomfort of growth, but your very presence makes them question the choice. Your ability to live authentically, to take risks with unwavering faith in yourself and in your purpose, exposes their self-imposed limitations. It's not about the risks you take or the actions you perform. It's about the underlying message you send. You're not bound by the same fears and limitations that hold them back. You've chosen a path of growth, and that's what they're afraid to confront. But here's the thing, you're not doing any of this to intimidate or prove anything to anyone. You're not trying to outshine anyone or make them feel inferior. You're simply living your truth unapologetically, authentically, and with purpose. And in a world full of people pretending to be something they're not, that's a rare and powerful thing. Your authenticity forces others to reckon with the parts of themselves they've neglected, the untapped potential they've ignored, and the fears they've buried deep inside. They know, deep down, that if they could only embrace the same level of courage, the same unwavering faith in themselves, they could unlock their own power. But they're too afraid to take that first step. They're too afraid to face what they might find. So, keep moving forward. Keep shining your light brightly even when they try to dim it. Keep making fearless moves that challenge their perceptions and leave them questioning their own limitations. Because in the end, the only thing they fear more than your strength is the fact that you refuse to shrink yourself to make them feel more comfortable. They fear the idea that you have found the key to unlocking your true potential, and that you are living it, unapologetically, every single day. They fear that if they faced their own truth, they would have to reckon with all the untapped potential they've kept locked away for far too long. But you don't need their approval. You don't need their validation. You don't need them to understand you. The only thing you need is to stay true to yourself and to your mission. You've already proven that success comes not from playing it safe, but from taking bold, fearless steps toward the life you know you were meant to live. And that's exactly why you scare them. Your very existence serves as a mirror, reflecting back to them everything they have yet to accomplish, all the things they've been avoiding, and all the fears they've been running from. If this message resonates with you, if you're ready to embrace your true power and stop playing small, then this is the place for you. Don't let fear hold you back any longer. Step into the greatness that's waiting for you. Join a community of individuals who refuse to live by anyone else's standards, who are determined to challenge the norm and break free from the illusions that hold them captive. Subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications, and get ready for more truth, wisdom, and unapologetic power. Your journey to becoming the unstoppable force you were always meant to be starts right here.